clap.
Oh, yeah. I haven't actually started the audio yet.
That was weak.
Let's clip sync.
Are we synced now?
I don't know. I don't think
No,
so.
we're really out of sync.
I'm gonna... There's gonna be so many spikes in the audio.
I thought you hadn't started yet.
It's gonna be so hard to sync up.
Oops.
Like, whose clap is who?
I'm sorry. Here, go ahead and click. My bad.
I thought you didn't start recording yet.
I did.
Oh.
It's all good. Start the episode crying.
Answer.
Man. Okay. Now that I'm done crying. I'm still not done crying. Gotta stop laughing. You're not allowed to make me laugh.
I'm sorry.
You're in the wrong business, pal.
I am in the wrong business. But not here.
True.
Thank you. Thank you for the little one.
You're welcome.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Album Sharing Sessions, this podcast / video series that we do, where it's like a book club where we give each other 3 albums to listen to, 3-week time, come back in 3 weeks, review those albums, give them arbitrary scores that don't matter, and just kind of talk about the music and whatnot. If you guys want to play along, cool. This week, on this podcast, we are talking about, if you want to go first.
Oh, different orders. Okay.
Okay.
You caught him off guard.
I did. I have it written down too if you need me to say it.
I got it. The heart goes to heaven, the head goes to hell. By that handsome devil.
That handsome devil.
Awesome.
My pick was, it's kind of a long title, but it's Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not. Very dramatic, by Arctic Monkeys.
And then mine is We Don't Have Each Other. Also kind of dramatic. But by Arron and the Roaring Twenties. These are all long titles, and I was actually thinking
This is kind of a mouthful.
I just now noticed that they're all really long.
The band name for mine really took it. Yeah. In the past, in times that we have not recorded, maybe someday, I don't know, just the range of music, we did In the Court of the Dragon by Trivium, Pop Food by Jack Staber? Ty told me how to pronounce it earlier. Forgot completely. An Explanation Point by Dead Poets Society.
I was wondering how you were gonna say that to the camera.
Explanation Point. I don't know. It's kind of self-titled maybe. And Umbra by Grayscale. Yeah. Anything going on with you guys? I actually have stuff to say this time.
Well, I mean, if you got something, go for it.
So I got to do a cool thing where I seen 21 Pilots in a really small room. Where
That's not, you said a cool thing.
Later this year, I'm seeing them. I have tickets for 2 dates, but in an arena that holds 28,000, and that's where I normally see them. So
Is that at the Blue Jackets?
Yeah.
Nationwide.
Yeah, and it's sold out 3 times over. So seeing them in the same city in a 1,700 capacity, pretty cool. I had when they posted a thing on social media that was text Clancy to us on Instagram. So I made an Instagram, which I did not have before. I did, but I didn't have it downloaded or anything with it because Facebook and all the same company. But then they were sending out trivia questions, some about lore in the story, or
here we go with the lore again.
or just random things about them. And so the question that I got sent to me was, what's the street address of the venue that we played on the second night of Tour of Columbus tour, and I think they did in 2016 maybe, where they played every venue in Columbus from the smallest to the biggest. Where they started in the basement, actually, where we sing Dead Poets Society. So 100 capacity.
Cool little dingy place there, basement.
100 capacity all the way up. So what the answer was where they were going to play. I just looked up where Newport Music Hall was, typed it in. I was somehow in the first 1,000 people to do that.
So you cheated?
No, I just knew. I mean, yeah, I guess, but I don't know who else is just yeah, I know what North High Street is. But it was also the album release day for their new album. And it was also, they did like a whole thing where they had like a museum where they had like handwritten lyrics up and like props from music videos. I didn't get to go to that though, because it was so many people crammed into one street. Like, this is more people than can fit in this venue. I don't understand what's happening. There's people hanging out hoping for tickets last minute, which they ended up letting people in that were waiting outside. But I got to that museum thing that they were doing. It was in a Barnes & Noble, and I guess they had like a capacity limit. And I got there, and they're like, hey, we're at capacity. You can't come in, but you can buy merch, which is where this came from.
Oh, well, we'll take your money, but
they had like a pop-up shop at the end of it. But yeah, they had a line going all the way through. I found out later that the line was taking like 2.5 hours, and I would have probably missed the first bit of the concert if I actually tried to go through. But it was great. I kept making jokes that it was going to be like baby wedding that in my life excitement.
And maybe not mine and Timmy's cup of tea, but glad you.
It was cool.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That was really like the highlight of my last couple weeks. I've been on a 21 Pilots kick again. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, we reviewed Trench the last time,
and the albums came out since. And I got to do that cool
it's
little
like,
thing.
It is 21 Pilots season, I guess.
Yes. They debuted
maybe not for everybody, but
they debuted at number 2 on Billboards.
I saw a tweet where Tyler Joseph was like trying to calm down the fans because like the fans were mad that it didn't get number 1 or something.
Mad at Taylor Swift because she released the 14th version of her album that had 2 new other songs that you could only buy for one day, so she's still at number 1.
Oh wow! You can't like stream those anywhere, or
you have to buy
them.
She keeps doing it every single week. On Thursday or Friday, she'll announce like, "Hey, here's 2 more versions of this album. Also, you have to buy the whole album again, and you can only buy it for a day." So like, number one.
Did she release like acoustic versions of 2 songs?
That was this week's.
Yeah.
So number 1 again.
And my girlfriend didn't even bother.
She shouldn't.
It's stupid.
A blatant rip-off.
I don't even like acoustic versions of songs personally.
That is fair. But yeah, no, just constantly. Like, I have a fan base that will spend millions of dollars on me. I'm just gonna keep doing it.
She's being excessively greedy, especially recently.
I also took Billie Eilish's number 1 away from her.
Yeah.
Where she released an album last week or the week before, and also got like number 2 because of Taylor Swift.
She was posting like some tweets or something, being like really like targeting Taylor Swift basically. But like it's for things that she also did.
Yeah, that's true.
That
is true.
What did she say?
She was saying that like people that release multiple versions of the same thing just for like number's sake are bad, basically. Yeah. But like both of her other albums have like 14 different vinyl variants. Keep releasing them.
Right. But do they have additional tracks on them?
I don't think hers.
No.
Not that I know of.
No, just vinyl variants, like different colors.
I mean, that's
different colors.
That's different. That's not
you get the
locking
collectors.
people from listening.
Yeah, I mean, I bought 3 Clancy's. So.
I've been playing a lot of Fortnite.
Yeah, like still, that was our last update.
Yeah. still grinding that battle pass.
I think that was 2 updates ago. I think that was episode 2.
I completed the last one, but now it's a new season.
Oh man.
Did they destroy the map again?
What franchises have they got skins of this time?
Fallout. They got power armor.
That Fallout makes its way into the podcast 2 episodes in a row. Nice.
I know why you're playing I'm spoiling my joke.
Okay.
Fortnite, because they added 3 21 Pilots songs to the festival.
I noticed.
Well, Timmy is now uninstalling Fortnite. He'll never. He's going back to Apex.
Where they'll add 21 Pilots. I wanted to do an order that we hadn't done, but I couldn't come up with an order that I haven't done.
Well,
I've never gone in the middle.
I've never went first, I don't think. Have I?
No. But Timmy has gone last. So we'll just do that.
To me, you, Timmy.
Yeah.
Monkeys, Arron West, Devil.
Yeah.
Not you.
Yeah, we don't have a finale this week, so.
Yeah. This is kind of like I don't want to say a downer week, but like coming off the last one, it's like the album's definitely had a different tone to it.
So whatever people say I am,
watch it.
Yeah,
that's what I'm not.
That is the name of the album.
Yeah. My prior knowledge of them is just basically AM. that album.
That's most people's prior knowledge, which
Yeah.
is kind of why I picked this album.
Like, I know AM, not well. I'll say I know the singles well. They were...
I also am like not super like I've listened to AM, but like
I
was kind of a one and done.
I know
for
I've
me.
listened to it like in 2013 or whatever, and I just moved on and never listened to it
exactly.
since. The singles are good. I have "Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High" saved on my phone. I think that's my only Arctic Monkeys song.
Well,
Do You Want to Know has a cool music video. It's,
Yeah,
animated
like
and,
AM's not bad, but it's just kind of boring.
Yeah.
Like
It was on the 100
it
top
was
100
on the
albums
100
for
list,
Apple for
which-
some reason.
the
I just
whole-
know very vaguely that they've changed their sound.
Yes, so that was the whole reasoning behind this pick, was to kind of highlight a band for what they used to be and what they are now. And of course now they're way more, or maybe not nowadays, but when AM came out, they were like on top of the world, or at least in the
And
top
alternative radio
on
stations.
top of the UK, because boy, they are very British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They, but whatever people say, I'll just say whatever people
Yeah.
say just for short. This album's more like garage punk, alternative, whereas AM it's still got like kind of those roots in it, but it's more
Yeah.
streamlined, like made for radio.
You can hear it a little bit in like the slower songs like Marty Bum and When the Sun Goes Down, like them getting slower. But also, it makes sense because they're the most popular on the album, like numbers wise, which I was surprised by.
Yes.
Because Apple's Music doesn't really do like, hey, here's individual numbers. And so I looked at it on YouTube Music earlier today, and I was like, oh, Marty Bum's the most streamed on YouTube, like by a lot.
That does surprise me, because honestly that's probably one of my least favorites from this album. I like the more like energetic, I don't want to say heavy because they're not really a heavy band, but like, you know, just the more fun songs, like I Think You Look Good on the Dance Floor and Dancing Shoes is a lot of fun.
I think my favorite of the faster songs was the first one. I forget the name.
The View from the Afternoon.
Yeah, that's it. The way I wrote it,
That
it looks
song
like
was
the new.
cool.
Yeah. I actually like the slower stuff a little bit more. Like Marty Bum was actually probably my favorite. When the Sun Goes Down was probably my second favorite.
Yeah, I don't hate anything on this album. It's just one of my least favorites.
A lot of the basically the first 6 songs until Riot Van.
Yes. It's you know, like bouncy energy, you know, back to back to back.
And I like listening to it without actually seeing when the songs switch. I couldn't really tell. They all kind of sound the same, and not in a bad like this is a negative. It just
They have that style.
yeah.
And I think that's on purpose with those first, you know, like 6 tracks.
Yeah, it picks it back up after that again until Marty Bum, and then goes right back to it again. Or like, I like the sound, and like it's great. It all does kind of flow together.
The pacing on the second half of the album is a little iffy. Kind of like, I was going to interject on what you were saying, where it's like a slow song, fast song.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the first half was just like all energy straight through. So I don't know. Maybe they could have found like a better balance in the track listing.
It was also a debut, so like it's
Yeah, I think this
has
is
a
like
debut flaws.
this is like they made their mark. I know they weren't like huge in the U.S. when this album came out.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of become like a cult. I know they're like massive in the UK,
Yeah.
but this album, like how I discovered it, was just like people were trashing on AM, and they're like, well, if you want to listen to the real Arctic Monkeys, you should go listen to the debut. So I did, and I'm like, oh, like.
I wonder what the fans feel about them now, because it's a completely different route from even AM.
Yeah. They've really I haven't really listened to them since AM, but from what I understand, they've like once again just kind of went even more much energy on this album. Like, because I get it, like they're young, they're trying to make a name for themselves, but there's just something missing on like AM and their other albums that's pretty much can only be found on this debut here. That's like kind of one of my main gripes about this album, is that I kind of feel like you have to be British to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can enjoy the music, but like I feel like you had to have been in this specific place, which is, you know, the UK.
Some bar and
at some pub,
some
as they would
dance floor.
they would call it, and be in like your early to mid 20s at this exact time to actually like understand the album.
I don't think I'm British enough to like this album fully.
Yeah, I think my only like biggest whatever gripe with it is that it was not lyrically dense. I don't even care about the two British. I listen to a band or a guy named Youngblood on and off, and he's overly British, even worse than this. Like, I feel like they influenced him to be more British. Also, like, Ollie Sykes, and very British guy as well. Not as bad, but, like, it's there.
Which, you know, like, I love, like, you know, UK music, but
yeah.
This is, like, advanced UK, like, you know what I mean? Like,
this is high-level British.
Yes. This is... I mean, I just right away you can tell from Alex Turner's accent, like how he sings.
I also have Bluey in my house 24/7, so I got the Australian accent as well. It's all accent, so the accent really didn't bother me at all.
No, like it doesn't bother me either.
I think
it's more the lyrical content.
Yeah, it's not dense at all. It's a lot of the same similar, like I found a girl in a bar, or that's really about it.
Yeah.
Or the boys are getting arrested by the riot. You know, like the coppers.
Which I actually thought that song was going to go further, but then it just ends after 2 minutes. Where I was like, hey, this one's actually going to be like something lyrically there. And then it's like, oh, it's over now. Never mind.
I thought like a few of their songs just abruptly end.
Yeah, it does. Like Dance Floor is like probably my favorite song on it, and I wish it were a little longer. Like sometimes I actually have to go back and listen to it because I want more of it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of 2-minute songs. A lot of 2-minute songs.
Which, you know, is not...
It's fine.
Like it kind of helps the album move at a good pace. Like I don't think any song really overstays its welcome because they're not long enough to do that.
Yeah, only 2 songs go over 4 minutes. Only 2 more than that go over 3.
I was going to say, though, another one of my favorites is actually one of the longer songs, and it's the Vampire, perhaps Vampire. Because that kind of just goes into like this cool like jam band thing like halfway through. And I thought that song was like actually quite maybe not like a far leap from what they were talking about.
No, it was different.
It was more had more variety, I guess, in the lyrical.
Is that the song that also stops at some point, then starts back up?
Yeah, like it stops during the
vampires and it goes.
It stops during the jam band part, and then you think it's over, and then you just hear Alex Turner from like another room going like, "Vampires! These people are vampires, isn't it?" But yeah, I mean, you know, like it's a pretty solid album. I don't think it's perfect by any means. It definitely has quite a few flaws, which I think we've listed. And you know, of course, if you're British, they are probably not flaws for you, but maybe Americans don't get the most out of it. But you can still enjoy this album, I think.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time with it.
It's a fun, you know, just garage. Like it's got a groove to it, even though it's like kind of garage punk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got to say about Arctic Monkeys here.
Have you got anything? Other than, okay, nothing that we didn't say.
No.
I always feel like I'm just cutting you off, so I just want to make sure.
Timmy never has anything to say.
I do something.
Yeah. Any strong feelings?
I
actually figured you would like this one and have stuff to say.
Too British is always.
I didn't really care for it all too much. I didn't like the guy's voice or how he sings or the lyrics, and the instruments didn't really stand out to me very much.
Actually,
they have a really good groove to them.
I
think that's what sets them apart from the other indie.
I wrote it down. It didn't mention it.
Newer stuff.
But they have.
Oh, so you're like, why didn't you interject then?
I don't know. Not like. I don't know strongly, but like I've heard it and I prefer it more to this.
You should have come in and defended them while we were.
Have you listened to like Cars, like their newest, or was it like the Hotel one? Or?
Just some of their like newer singles.
Oh, okay.
Did you check them out? Like you knew about them prior, or did you check them out after?
No, I've heard some of their singles before, and I didn't really like those a whole lot, but I prefer that style over this style.
Well,
cool.
Yeah, fair enough.
I prefer their slower songs on this album.
Like Marty Baum and Riot Van.
Well, Timmy, go ahead and score it if you like.
3.5.
Jeez, that was harsher than I thought it was going to be.
I just think the guy is just kind of annoying.
That's fair.
and just not super enjoyable.
With the 3.5, I thought you'd have more to say.
Not really.
I haven't written down scores or anything, but I was feeling a 6. I don't have crazy strong feelings, but I did enjoy listening to it. If there was more lyrical density to it, where like if it depressed me at any point,
yeah, it's not.
I would have probably skyrocketed it. But yeah,
obviously, I do like this album. Like I picked it. I wouldn't pick something I don't like unless it was a blind pick.
Yeah.
But it's not like I wouldn't say it's like an all-time classic or like an amazing album or nothing like that. But and I don't think I would give it something like as high as like a 8 or whatever. But I think I would. It's close, but there are some flaws definitely bringing it back. I'll give it like a 7.5.
Yeah. I know you're calculating, so I'll give you a sec. But
a 5.7. So
going with mine, that's just weird because I'm normally last.
Well, you kind of you had the main event last week. You gotta share, I guess.
I just want to do a different order. You had mentioned last time that you were like, I'm always in the middle, and I was like, I'm gonna make sure Brandon's not in the middle. Man, We Don't Have Each Other by Arron West and the Roaring Twenties. To say it slower, I'm gonna slur it. I personally am clearly a Wonder Years fan, so him being the lead singer of this side project of his made me intrigued, but I had never checked it out until the newest album. And I said on the last episode, I love that album, so I wanted to listen to the full story in podcast and like put on record my initial feelings because I've never listened to these.
Put your thoughts to.
Despite having the vinyl, because I bought them because I was like, Dan Campbell, I'll support Dan Campbell. So I had the vinyl already. I bought the deluxe for the newest one without ever hearing them before. But doing my research on this side project, Dan Campbell, this was in between Greatest Generation and No Closer to Heaven on their timeline.
Okay.
The Wonder Years timeline. Wanted to make a character study album on a tragic year of somebody's life. So this is supposed to be 1 year. And I guess he didn't feel like he didn't say it, but I guess it didn't fit in the Wonder Years format because that's basically him doing that with him.
Which is crazy to me because this, I mean, we'll get into it, but this is like Wonder Years through and through.
Yeah. So yeah, Wonder Years is basically this version of his life, which I guess is like less depressing. But yeah, I guess he realized it didn't fit and made this.
This is like from the POV of like a fictional.
Yeah, a character that he created wrote a tragic story too. I don't know if he knew if it was going to be more than just the one album either. It was just a side project. He wanted to write a diary, make songs that make sense in a story. He says that he tries to make it like episodic to where like it's like a show where every album is a season, every song is an episode. And just to, I guess, get into it after backstory of this, I don't know if anybody could do this style of music better than Dan Campbell.
I'm glad you said that because I had pretty much the same thought when I first listened to this.
He basically pioneered the...
I mean, I'm sure there's probably lots that...
The music writing of very absurdly specific, but also crazy relatable, and...
He just has a knack for this type of writing.
Yeah. Anytime that anybody could... Like, it's fictional and stuff, but I could not stop feeling for this guy.
Yeah, you could... Like I picked up that it was like a story. I didn't know that it was like a whole year-long span, but yeah. Through the tracks, it does tell the story, chapter by chapter, song by song.
But yeah, so doing this, making a fictional character, performing as that fictional character when they play live. Like he comes out and goes, "I'm Arron West. This is the Roaring Twenties." It's cool. I don't know. He does a good job. The first album of this being, there is no hope in this album at all.
Sorry. Okay, yeah, I remember what I was going to say. It really, like, the way that he writes this stuff, it really, like, puts you in, I guess Arron West is.
Yeah.
He is like
he is Arron West.
It puts you in his shoes, like as the listener. Like you feel, like you said, like you feel for the guy. You kind of feel like you're experiencing what Dan is describing here.
Yeah, it's just his way of writing. I don't know if like there are bands now that come close. Like Spanish Love Songs does kind of the same thing, but like the very specific, very relatable type of stuff. But
it has a niche, but like when they hit when you're in that niche, it's like it speaks to you, you know.
Yeah, it's Wonder Years, and Dan Campbell's writing at the top of that.
Yeah, and as a pretty big Wonder, not as big as you, but as a pretty big Wonder Years fan, I had never heard of this side project before you showed me at the end of the last episode that who Arron West was. And, you know, like, I love Greatest Generation, you know, Suburbia, like, all classic albums. And I had no idea that he had more music. So I was pretty happy to know that we were listening to a Dan Soupy, whatever you want to call him, Campbell project.
So, with that being said, this being the tragic story of a year of a fit guy's life, it starts with a divorce immediately. And, like, dealing with the not wanting to sleep on your bed because your partner's not there. There's very specific, like, you would think that Dan Campbell has lived this, and like the feeling there later on.
Some of them do feel ripped straight out of like a Wonder Years track.
Yeah,
like the part about sleeping in your car, like that. I feel like I've heard that somewhere, like along, you know.
Yeah.
In one of those albums.
It's also told in a way where, like, in the album, it, like, reveals things that happened in his life. Like, in almost an inconsistent narrator way.
Yeah.
Where, like...
Totally.
So it goes from the divorce, which it should be the intro to this story. Like, just... I didn't know it was going to be like I didn't know there was going to be like, I'm Arron West. It's just like, I got divorced. Like, right off the bat, first song of this project. To Grapefruit. Which then is him saying that he's going to start drinking out of spite, essentially. Like, you told me to lighten up, so I'm going to lighten up. To saying that he had lost his dad, and at the funeral he kind of shut off his wife. And she thought it would be a good idea to have a kid, so they made a nursery. So then that kind of cuts off that song. The next song goes into him telling his mom about his divorce. And her being like, hey, you don't really call, I knew something was up. And her telling him to take his dad's car and run, is what it says in the song. To then him basically running and going through a depressive thing. But then it's not even mentioned abruptly until song 5 that they lost that baby.
Yes, I was gonna say there's a massive like reveal.
It like kind of says it in Grapefruit where he says like, I knew you wanted this too, which like kind of implies that something happened, but it's like number 5 he's after running he's in a phone booth calling Diane, which is the partner in this story, saying like, I knew I shut off when we lost the baby. And I was like, man, this is told, why am I learning this in song 5?
Well, he's got to keep you, you know, on the edge of your seat. Like you don't know what's.
It is like
it peels back the layers.
Successfully written as a show, where it's like you're hearing things as like a cliffhanger to start the next episode.
Yeah,
almost.
It's like a good book, you know. I think it, you know, a lot of albums try to tell a story, and I think they really succeed here in like actually coming up with a pretty good narrative, like for a listening experience, which is not easy to do.
Yeah. And, like, you can actually... I wasn't able... I didn't have to, like, look up what these songs mean. It was there. And, like, normally, if there's, like, a concept album or something, I was like... I normally look it up and see where, like, all the things connect. It's just a story. And it's easy to put together. The lyrics are pretty, like, just clear. There's a lot of similes that are really, really, like, hard-hitting.
To compare your point about, you know, not having to look it up, to compare them to Bad Flower... on episode 1, where Timmy brought up how it would it kill this guy, to use a metaphor. Here though, it's like you kind of have to be like straightforward and blunt with the listener so that they can follow along.
But even then,
it doesn't hinder, you know, the musical aspect of it either, because just of the way that Dan Campbell writes his lyrics.
I was just also crazy impressed that like you can understand it, but there's also a lot of similes that if you read a little bit more into are crazy depressing.
I'm sure, yeah. I didn't do like a deep dive.
In song 3, he picks up flowers that he's going to then give. They're lilies. Like, it's very specific. That he's planning on, I'm thinking, giving to his wife if they ever reconcile or something fixes what they're going through. And at song 9, they're dead. And he plants them in hopes that they grow, but they're dead. And like, if you do the mental gymnastics of just like, that is his mental well-being at this moment in time in this album. There's a lot of cool similes like that, where like there's the last song says something about a boat trying to get to dock but can't. Like, he wakes up on the ocean.
The bonus, like the Georgia one?
No.
Or the song before that?
So the Georgia one is actually a cover of a song by...
Georgia was like a pretty running theme throughout this album.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to go to Macon, like cross the Macon line.
It's a cover of a song by a band called the Mountain Goats, I believe. And
I've heard of them.
The idea, I think, like the fan idea, he might have came out and said it, but I don't know, is that is a song that he was listening to and singing on the car on the way there, is the idea, apparently.
Arron West was?
Yes.
Or Dan Campbell was when he was writing this?
No. I mean, that was probably the inspiration for a lot of this, because it's like one of his favorite bands, I guess. But that's the idea of the bonus song. It was like a thing that he was listening to while this was happening.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch that one.
But also, like, song 6, I think, has him talking to a homeless man and him apologizing. Like, he asks for change, and then he just looks at him and he's like, actually, sorry, man. It's just a lot of, like, individual lines that, like, really, like, were like, Tristan, you're going to be upset, and there's no happiness in this album. There's the whole thing where he's just hoping that his wife, like, he dreams that he goes down in a plane crash, and he just hopes that his ex goes to the funeral, and, like, I took that as just, like, a hoping that his now separated partner now, like, I took it as, like, I hope that this relationship wasn't as impactful for you as it was for the character. Like, just diving more into what the said at face level. But then there's also the line where it says, like, pour me a drink for a daughter I'll never meet and a wife that loves me or doesn't love me. Like, just lines like that.
I know, it's like you kind of like it sort of makes you root for the character, even though like he has his issues.
So
it's like, you're like, man, like, can't this guy just like turn his life around?
He speaks about his mom having all the Jesus paraphernalia and like being a soldier for Jesus, I think is how it says it in the song. But then later on in the album he says, I'm starting to believe that there's a God and he hates me and my mom lied about grace. It's like, there's so many.
I do remember that line.
There's so many individual lines that I'm just like, man, this guy. Dan Campbell writes in a fake person more than I could even feel. Like, this guy's not real. He could be so easily. I'm sure it's a story for hundreds of people.
That's another thing. Like, it's actually a very realistic story. I mean,
I didn't realize it was like a fictional story. I thought it was just his experiences or something.
Yeah, like, it's not far-fetched at all.
No, not at all. It was really surprising. I've listened to the finale of this so far, and going back to this, I was like, okay, this is where this starts. And I was like, there's the newest album have some hope in it.
So the future albums, they continue the story.
Yes.
It's not like an anthology. It's like a new guy.
No, it's him.
It's Arron West.
So
it's his story.
Just to go to the backdrop a little bit. This is a diary that he wrote for the newest album. Like, it's a chronological, written in character, like, dated and written out diary that then helped him create the new album.
Golly.
Like, the effort that goes into this is more than I could put into something for sure. It's just impressive all the way around.
Yeah, I think this album is rewarding, like, to listen to multiple times just to pick up, different hints in the story. Maybe there's like some foreshadowing in the songs that you didn't quite get on the first. I mean, the first listen, I didn't even realize that it was like telling a story.
No,
I was just kind of like, oh, it's this is just Wonder Years. Like, I just treated it as a new Wonder Years album. But then future listens, you know, it's like it starts to click. Like, oh, you know, he's actually going for a narrative here.
Yeah. And I like it pretty, even with it being an inconsistent, like, hey, here's this piece of the puzzle, here's this. It's written in a way that is well written. Like, the songs make sense in the story after one another. Like, he's almost admitting things as his life spirals down. And, like, coming to the realizations that he might have been the problem as well. At the same time. Like, I think You Ain't No Saint is the song, but he's saying that they both, like, it probably was, like, a not the best relationship kind of thing. I don't know. I was really impressed by this.
Yeah. As far as like favorite tracks, it's a little difficult to pick.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Just because it's like, as a story, it's like trying to pick your favorite chapter.
Yeah.
in a book, you know.
But also
like they all need each other.
They're all so sad.
But sonically, like just, you know, like if you just show me this just as a music listener, I really liked St. Joe Keeps Us Safe, Running Scared, and the Thunderbird Inn the most.
Okay. So that, like, stretched minus the phone booth song?
Yeah. I guess it's not that any of them I disliked, but those were probably my favorite, just musically speaking.
I was going to ask, not being somebody that's familiar with the Wonder Years, when it starts out just Dan Campbell with an acoustic, did you think it was just going to be that?
Yes.
And then a banjo kicks in?
The very first track, I was like, okay, well, this is just acoustic Wonder Years. And then, like you said, the banjo kicked in, and then my immediate next thought was, okay, this is folk bluegrass Wonder Years. I was very relieved that it was not that, because I don't know if banjo-themed album could have worked.
I think, like, the next stanza has, like, horns kicking as well, where there's, like, a trumpet and, like, a tuba and stuff as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of different uses of instruments. I mean, it's not just acoustic, obviously. But
I don't know if they're all in this album, but I know the current iteration of this band has 15.
Was there, like, a harmonica on one of this?
Yeah,
I thought...
Pretty much anything. 15 people. And Dan has the guitar. So, like...
That's kind of crazy that it takes... I mean, it doesn't sound like 15 people, you know what I mean?
Like, they're not on every song either. I know the most about the newest one, but I think there's only 2 on that have all 15. And again, I don't even know if all 15 are in the band at this point in the side project stage. But I think there's some Wonder Years people in there too. Just as like... But yeah, just never heard a story like this in a musical sense.
This was a very interesting album. One I did enjoy quite a bit. I mean, it's Dan Campbell, everything, which we didn't really discuss it, but every time I hear his name, I think of the Detroit Lions coach, because his name is also Dan Campbell.
You gotta go with Soupy.
But that's, you know, I digress. Anything that he touches it's gonna be good. You know, it might not always be mind-blowing, amazing like The Greatest Generation is, but it's never gonna be bad. Except maybe for the Kool-Aid Man album.
I mean, there's fans of that too. I've never heard anything from it, but there's fans of that too.
But I mean, it's not like it does get a little slow in some parts, where it's kind of a little hard to pay attention, because it does get a little. I don't want to say repetitive, because it's not really long enough to be repetitive. But it's like at a certain point, it's just like, well, you know, here comes another acoustic, you know. So it I don't know. It's kind of like how the Arctic Monkeys, like how they had a flow with the first 6 tracks.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the opposite, where it's like not every song is slow, but
most of them go from like a slow to like the emotional belching.
Like there's like most of them there is like a crescendo where Dan or Arron or whatever you want to call him, where he, you know, breaks out. Like I think it's in the Thunderbird Inn where he's like out of nowhere he's like, and the waiter was so nice and he poured me a coffee. I know. Like that part caught me off guard.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's just, I like Dan Campbell a lot. Yeah. His singing styles I like a lot. Does emotion in his voice well for a story like this.
Timmy, you're not very familiar with the Wonder Years. Tristan did. Well, you were forced to listen to an album.
Their newest.
But what did you think as a non-Wonder Years fan? Just as a casual coming into this.
Well, I didn't really have very strong feelings for it either way. Like, I didn't know it was a story and, like, not, like, someone's personal experiences. So, initially, I thought it was just kind of boring. Like, I didn't care for, like, the music aspect for it and just how everything's worded or the lyrics or anything. But now that I know that it's, like, a story, like, the way it is, I think that's interesting.
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
Being the lyric, depressed, driving person that I am, the only flaw I have with this is that I know where it goes. If that makes any sense. I know the ending and the beginning of this story. I do not know the middle yet.
Well, because you listened to it in a backwards manner.
Where I really like the newest one. And I was like, well, I need to listen to the rest of this since it's a story. And then I was wanting to do this live.
You started with Return of the King, and then you...
Pretty much.
Then you went to Fellowship.
Which is actually how I watched those too.
It's okay, I do things in a really backwards order too.
Not to spoil, but his life picks up. Not incredibly. Where, like, the newest album has lines where he says, like, all I do is lose.
Well, it can't be happy, because then it's just boring. It's like nobody wants to listen to some guy having a good life, you know what I mean?
No, so there's just hope where, like, this is a depressing listen. And it's just, just listening along to the turmoil of this man. And, I do like that. I also...
You are a sucker for that.
I do very much tend to appreciate depressing stuff way more than anything else. So I do like this a lot. But I do know where it goes. And musically, it gets better. It is mostly slow with the few bits of the kind of scream, like not screaming, but like belting. So yeah, it gets better, and I would probably rate this higher if I didn't know it got better. Is where I'm at with it.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. Like,
I just know other albums, so like I have to rate it to their other albums. For some reason.
Do you feel like it would have flowed? Oh no, you don't know the middle of the story.
I don't.
Do you think it would have been better if you listened to this first and then went in chronological order?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't mind what I've done. I can fill in some spaces in the middle. That's for sure. Because, like, some of the last album won't make sense if you don't know the middle. Yeah. There's characters and, like...
Because I'll probably check out, like, is it 3 albums?
It's 3 albums. The last one came out a couple months ago. And that's what really...
Is that how you got... Did you know of his side project
before? Again, I have all the vinyl. I even have the live one up there.
But, like, so you didn't get into them just because of the last album? Like did you know about...
I knew about this project, but I'd never listened to it.
Yeah, like me earlier, like, I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like this is, like, the best kept secret.
I bought the vinyl because it's Dan Campbell, and I was like, I really like the Wonder Years, like, one of my favorite bands.
I mean, you've seen them.
I'm going to support them.
We've seen them together live twice.
Yeah, we've seen their first 3 albums, technically.
For incredibly long sets. So yeah, we're pretty big Wonder Years fans.
Yeah. But yeah, it's new to me in a way that I knew it existed. I had probably listened to this once, but was just like, oh, it's just acoustic stuff. I don't really need to listen to it.
And brushed it off.
And just brushed it off. And then I listened to the newest one, which gets more complex, and like the story is actually a little harder to follow because it's more complex. There's more characters.
Yeah, I kind of like the simplicity of this album.
This is
it was pretty easy to follow along too.
I wouldn't imagine it gets hard, but it definitely, there's more characters. It really is all it comes up to. Or like, I know his sister joins the band at some point. Or like there's a sister that plays on stage with him now.
Now, okay, is Arron West like is he portrayed as a music, like, is he singing these songs to us, or is it like Dan Campbell
not
singing through his eyes? Like, you know what I'm saying?
So in this one, just because I know the bit of the story, this one he does not have a band. In the last one and in between, he forms a band. So then it does become Arron West.
So
and the Roaring 20s.
It is him singing to us.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know, like, timeline-wise.
And it's not like Dan narrating kind of like
No.
his diary or whatever.
No.
Okay. I was curious.
No, I just know that he performs as Arron West, and I know that there are it's mentioned a lot in the last album that there is a band that he is now in. That he is now singing about, but I don't know the middle where that band starts. So, next album, a band starts at some point, and that's all I know.
Okay.
Cool. I haven't read the diary either. I just know I know strictly the last album. There's an EP that connects apparently this one and the next one as well, that I don't know either.
All right.
But yeah, I mean,
I think there's a lot of holes in this story.
Going into it, this is where I probably should have started. But when I did listen to this, I was just like, I didn't know the intricacies of what this side project is. So I wrote it off and was just like, it's Dan Campbell. I'll collect this stuff and get the vinyl and support Dan Campbell in any way I can. Kind of way.
True enough.
So I already have everything. Like, I don't even have to go and buy something. I don't have to. This and 21 Pilots has been my current obsession. Because I've been, like, listening to this and the last one being, like, because I want the second one to be on this. So if you don't want to listen to it yet, it will be one that we cover. I just don't know when.
Well, by then I'll have forgotten the story.
I'll make it a whole deal on here where we keep up with the life and tribulations of Arron West
and the Roaring Twenties.
Like, the next one came out 5 years later, so, like, really.
So there's a gap. Okay.
And I do think I think it follows the years that it's trying to follow as well. Like, I feel like in the story it doesn't say because it doesn't matter, but, like, this came out in 2014. So I'm guessing this traumatic life of Arron West happened in 2014 in the story. There's a COVID song in the newest one. Like, it's really, like, it's real stuff. I don't know. But if you guys want to rate it or have any closing thoughts,
yeah, I mean,
I'll go last.
I was pretty positive on this album, but kind of like what you were saying, like how the story gets better. I feel like I feel like there's room to grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which you seem to think that the third album is probably better than this. You would say,
without a doubt.
And
it's almost made me tear up. Like, I don't cry to media normally.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I never have. I didn't with this either. But I was like, man, I gotta catch myself in the back room at work.
I guess, like I said, Dan Campbell has a way of hitting you right in the gut with, even in the Wonder Years. But this is not the Wonder Years, even though it kind of is.
Yeah.
They don't have the energy, which they shouldn't. It shouldn't be an energetic band, but I enjoyed this album a lot more kind of than I thought I would, because again, coming into it, I was just thinking, acoustic Wonder Years. Probably going to be like mid to whatever, but not great. But no, I enjoyed my time with this album. Like I said, I think there's room to grow. The story of Arron West is not finished. Is it? Do you think the end? Not to get into spoilers for his story.
He has said that it is the end for now, but if he finds inspiration to pick up the character again, he will.
Okay, so like the one that came out this year is probably
could be the end.
The end. Okay. Well, so I think this is on par with whatever people say I am. So it's gonna get the same score. It's 7.5 for me. For very different reasons, a multitude of reasons, which we've listened or that we've listed.
Yeah.
But I quite enjoyed this album.
Timmy, how are you feeling?
It was okay.
Okay.
I don't have very strong feelings for it one way or the other. I just thought it was a little boring. Like, a lot of the songs sound very similar. It just has, I don't know.
No, I mean, I get it. If it wasn't the intricacies and the depressing nature of it,
there's not a lot of variety. Like, that's for sure.
Yeah. Like storytelling is not really my preferred style. The music's not my preferred style, but I don't think it's bad. I just can't really tell if it's good. So I don't know.
I get it.
It's very.
I do get what you're saying. I know what you're. I know you don't think I do, but I do.
Yeah. So I don't know. 5. It's okay.
I was gonna go with an 8.5. Because I do really like this. I just do know it gets better, or it probably would have been rated like a 9 point something.
If this was like the only Arron West project.
Yes, I do. It's become my obsession where like I'm really holding back listening to the second one. Where I'm like, I need to know where this connects. I know the beginning and ending. It's like if I watched like the first season and the last season of a show, where I really am just. I know the story, I know where it goes, I can guess, but I don't know what happens.
So it averages out to a 7 on the dot, which is pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's one of our higher ones for sure. It's actually, you rated them much higher than you rated the Wonder Years, as a side note. I don't remember exactly.
I don't remember.
But you did not like Dan Campbell's voice the first time around.
I guess it wasn't as offensive.
Both you and...
Well, the Wonder Years is more, like, energetic. So,
yeah.
like, he probably got more on your nerves there.
You said that he was whiny.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It was a bit whiny in this one, but, like...
So, you like Arron West as a side project more than his actual band?
I guess.
Well, I mean, Timmy doesn't really like pop punk.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So... Actually, a longer episode than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we still got one album and our other ones to announce.
I'm at the wrong page.
That handsome devil.
The heart
Here he is.
goes to heaven, the head goes to hell. By that handsome devil. Both me and Brandon, I'll just speak for you, know this from Rock Band 2. This band.
Well, hold on, let me stop you there. I know him from Guitar Hero 2.
Guitar Hero 2? Is it not on Rock Band as well?
He had a song before Rob the President called Elephant Bones. It was a it was a bonus track on Guitar Hero 2.
Okay, I'm sure I know that too.
So I knew him in 2006.
Yes. I know this band through you guys knowing it.
Because we played Rob the
President?
President on Rock Band.
Rob the President is such a fun song.
That is a great song.
It's so weird and fun. And it's one of the best songs on Rock Band 2. It's so much fun.
And it's
every instrument's fun.
So that's kind of my issue with this album is well, for the first off, it's not Rob the President.
It's not Rob the President.
Second of all,
President.
I like his style. I liked Elephant Bones on Guitar Hero 2 back when I was like, I don't know, like 9 years old.
Is this a him or is it a band?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's probably a band, but I don't know. And you know, like I love Rob the President, so I was hoping I would like this a lot more than I did. But the issue I have with the album is that like his gimmick really runs thin real quick.
Yeah, it does.
It's when it's not fun songs. Like,
yeah.
If they were more upbeat, this would be stellar.
Yes. Okay. So like when they get more energetic and upbeat, that's like when you can kind of see like the wheels spinning. Like like this might be another Rob the President, but it's like there's flashes, but for the most part, it's just like really slow and just methodical. Like but it has that handsome devil flavor.
Yeah.
Which again, like I said, gets a little grating like through a full album.
It's definitely too long.
Yeah. And it's not even really that long, but it feels.
It really drags. Like I feel like there's 2 decent songs, and then most of the other songs are just like the same exact format. Where like it feels like he came up with like a cool phrase in his head,
and then he had to write a whole song.
Yeah,
like,
so he just looped it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
That's like exactly how it feels for most of the album.
Like I don't even know if like I know Rob the President is from like an album. By the way, this is the first time
before this.
This is the first time this has happened, but we had to go to YouTube to listen to this album.
Yeah, I was gonna do a whole rant on that too.
Okay, well we can get into that now if you want, but it's not on Apple Music for whatever reason, which is how me and Tristan listen to the albums.
That is strange. I didn't know because I
so
use YouTube.
For me, my listening experience to this was broken up by ads and.
So what's weird is that
waiting for the next video to load, which didn't help.
So I downloaded YouTube Music, which is what Timmy uses. Mostly free, kind of thing. But so my first 2 weeks of this, for some reason, they're like, I never paid for premium, and they were like trying to get me to do it. So they didn't tell me I was in a free trial or anything, but they like gave me all the perks of premium immediately for no reason. So I didn't have ads for a bit. Like I watched all the videos on YouTube on my phone in my pocket the first time I listened to it. And then I downloaded YouTube Music because I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And Spotify definitely wasn't it because they don't play anything from what you're trying to pick when you don't pay for it. But after like this week, it got more annoying to listen to this because it was like, actually, all your perks you had randomly are gone, and you have to now listen to it open on your phone in your pocket. You can't close the phone anymore. Also, ads in between every song.
Yeah, and like this is not the album's fault.
No,
in any way.
It's
but,
YouTube's, but it definitely didn't help.
Or Apple, I don't know why. Like his others, Rob the President and Elephant
Every other album he has
are on Apple Music. I don't know why this one's not. But maybe it's like I don't know if he sampled something and couldn't get it cleared.
But it's on everything else. So I really don't know what's with Apple. But it does happen. There are songs and albums that are not on Apple Music. Like Bad Flower has a single that's not, so I had to buy it on iTunes. So like maybe we could have bought it on iTunes, but I wasn't going to pay for it. Because then it would always be there kind of thing. I didn't know what I was going to go into this. But yeah, YouTube Music has its perks, though, where like I know what the most popular songs are. Because it tells you. Like almost overshares information.
I was shocked when I got to Charlie's Inferno and it had 13 million views.
Yeah. Oh, I had 19.
19.
19 on
I have it right here.
App on YouTube Music. It says 19.
Okay, so I was just like on YouTube, like YouTube.
And the next closest,
and that video has 13 million.
The next closest has 760,000. So it's not even close.
Yeah.
Did this blow up like on TikTok or something?
Probably. Yeah.
I just
There's
feel
a lot
like
of
it's the
animations for Charlie's Inferno.
I almost feel like the populace is right with this album. Where like if you look at the list, the more popular songs are the better ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Charlie's Inferno is by far the best song on this.
Yeah.
Like it's not even close. It's might be like one of my favorite you've ever had us listen to. It's great.
I've had this song get stuck in my head so many times. I've listened to it on loop while working at Kroger a couple times.
It samples Sandman, which is cool.
I didn't even notice that.
Oh, maybe that's why.
Oh.
Maybe he couldn't. Maybe they couldn't get this cleared on Apple because of maybe not that specific sample, but there might be others that we don't know about.
Which is cool, and it's just like it's written as a story, which like theme of this episode, I guess. I almost wish it was longer, to tell you the truth. Like, I wish it dove more into why he deserved to go to hell.
Yeah.
But great song. Like,
yeah.
Just single-handedly.
I would say the highlight of the
album. It is the reason to listen to this. Like, if you were to pick one song. Twist the Knife was probably my second favorite. Also, second most popular.
Yep.
An energetic song about wanting to kill his wife. It seemed. Like, the line, man, I wrote it down. I said, till death do us part, but I wouldn't lie, but I could speed that process up.
The You and I in Suicide, I thought was fun.
Yeah. I think that was my second favorite.
I liked it until I read the lyrics. To tell you the truth, it's not very lyrically dense. I thought it would be.
I don't think any of this album really is, aside from Charlie's Inferno.
It's like two sentences over and over and over.
Yeah, that was the problem with when I read the lyrics for You and I in Suicide. Like I was like, oh, this is like you were saying. You thought of a phrase and then wrote a song. Where it's very much like, we'll dress up as suits. You and I in Suicide. We'll dress up in suits.
Yeah.
That's kind of the song, and that's why I was like, never mind. But I liked it more in the beginning of this week. Like, when I was, like, on the high of, like, I'm listening to that Handsome Devil. I'm going to learn more about the Robo President band. And then, as the week went on, it kind of just got grating.
That's
I was like,
yeah.
I was like, it's 47 minutes, which is actually kind of what all of these have been. It was kind of yours was like 43, and mine was like 37. It was all within like a 10-minute.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I consider the perfect length for an album. But in this case, this album
feels like an hour and 15.
It does. That's what I thought it was.
It feels so long, and like every time I would look at it, I'd be at like bored, which ironic. Yeah, and look at it and be like, I still got 4 songs.
I guess just because like a lot of the songs like just have that like long like just almost like 1970s groove to them, but like
bored
drop down in like 5 steps.
Bored all the way to the end is pretty boring. My Pen is a Shiv is a little better, but it's really just like I just have that one phrase in my head.
Yeah, that's it.
Inside You was gross.
Yeah, that was my least favorite.
I felt uncomfortable listening to that song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he says it in such a sleazy, gross way too.
Yeah. sleazy. That's a good way to describe this album.
Yeah. And I actually liked it musically okay. It was like...
I think the production is interesting. And I like his voice.
It was mostly surf rock. Like, really, really strange to be in this type. It almost didn't fit. Like, I don't know. I liked it more at the beginning.
He's got a certain sound to him that like is unique. The problem is it just doesn't hold for an entire LP.
I just wish it was...
can't hold up the entire album.
Yeah, like at some point the well runs dry. You know, it's like okay, I've had my fill of this.
I just wish it was more of like a persona that he overtook.
Yeah.
Or like, where he wrote like creepy songs but more energetic maybe. Because again, Rob the President's great.
Elephant Bones is really good.
Charlie's Inferno might even be better than those. I like that song a lot.
I do too.
Just more go into it. Maybe he does. This was like really early. I think 2011. It's his second album.
Yeah.
Rob the President is on the first album, by the way.
Huh.
So kind of I don't know how that album sounds, but I would imagine this would be a downgrade from that. Less energetic, maybe. I don't know. I don't like the whole last half of this could be gone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It should.
I wouldn't miss a thing, and honestly, it would be better.
Yeah, I think as an EP, this probably would have worked way better. Yeah. Like we'd be having a totally different conversation right now.
Yeah.
This or maybe like 5 or 6 songs.
But even
like half the songs should have just stayed in the writing room to bake a little longer.
Maybe he should have used those. He could have combined all those lines into one song.
Have 4 sentences.
Yeah.
Early on, I actually liked Becky's New Car, and then later on, I hated it.
I think that's how I felt too. Like I was listening to it
seems,
on the way here.
Again, not to keep saying it, but more lyrically dense. But then the guitar riff got really grating as well. Or like it's a tough one to play, like musically, I'm sure. Like not even, but like to keep on time if you were to play it live, like kind of thing. Like taxing for sure. I wouldn't be able to do it. But it's just the whole song.
I think this album also misses the mark by not having a energetic opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adapted is like one of the most boring songs on here.
It really is.
And it is not a good first impression for this album. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'll also say, but if you change that and make Charlie's Inferno the first song, this album sucks a lot worse.
Oh yeah.
You need that mid-album boost to get you through the last.
You do. You do. But like Adapt is a very poor choice of not only as an opener, but maybe you should just not even be included.
You
maybe swap with You and
Inferno, and then you listen to the rest of the album hoping for another Charlie's Inferno, but it never comes.
Charlie's Inferno is great, though. It makes me sad that the rest of the albums just doesn't live up to it.
Me too.
And again, populace-wise, I normally don't agree, but like...
No, they got it.
They got this album... Like, if you look at that, it's mostly around the same, but the songs that are a little bit more popular are the better ones.
Yeah.
But then, Charlie's Inferno is way up, and Twist the Knife is down, but way, like, double most of anything else on this album.
Also, did you do that on purpose where you picked Freddie's Inferno and then the next week pick an album with a song called Charlie's Inferno?
Charlie's Inferno is better than all of Freddie's Inferno.
I just like to
I mean, what's next? Like,
it's more hell-themed songs for me, I guess.
Well, that was the last episode.
I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like this album. It's very. We just have kind of one thing to say about it.
I kind of was thinking that it was going to be that way, and I was questioning it being the finale. But Timmy's never been the finale.
I thought this.
I mean, there's a really good song on it.
So. Yeah, there's one really good song.
I thought this album was just really disappointing and overall just a waste of time.
Ouch! That's harsh coming from the person that picked it.
This did make me be more brave to pick weirder stuff in the future. I'll say.
I do appreciate his style. Like I said, like we know some of his previous songs, and even playing it on Guitar Hero, back when I was single digit age.
Yeah,
it's like. Wow, it's like it sticks in your brain.
Yeah. And maybe without the prior knowledge, I would have liked this more. But like, I was hoping for an energetic, weird album.
Yeah, me too.
Because I like
I think the prior knowledge kind of helps it in a way where it's like, you just check this out and it's like, well, what is this? At least here, it's like we had hope going into it that it would be better.
I was hoping for a lot more than this. And I got Charlie's Inferno.
Like if you listen to it without previous knowledge or being forced to listen to it, you had to listen to the first few songs, you'd probably turn it off.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't.
I have to listen to it.
Well, you know what I mean. Like if you just went on a whim and you're like, oh, let's check this album out, you probably wouldn't even make it to Charlie's Inferno.
I listen to these a lot too, trying to get my thoughts in order. Or like I didn't have answers for any of this right off the bat. All my scores have changed 100 times.
Well, I can tell you that
I was able to write notes this time, so there's that.
I can tell you that unfortunately, and I am sad to give it because I really wanted to like this album. It's gonna get a pretty low score from me.
Me too.
In fact, I'll give it a 3 because Charlie's Inferno is just like it saves it. Like it adds on 2 points.
I'm gonna go weird digit. I'm gonna go 3.75.
Okay.
I was going to go 4, but our conversation has brought it down. Charlie's Inferno is great, and it really holds it up. It would have been like a 2.
Yeah, I give it a 2, and like one whole point is for Charlie's Inferno.
You hated it worse than we did.
Yeah. I just think it's a waste of time, and it feels like 90% of the songs are unfinished.
2.9.
Well, fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
So weird little bit of, I don't know what to call it.
Gimmick theme. Oh, is that where you're going with this?
Every 5 episodes of this, since it's the first time, every 5 rounds before we started recording it, we did gimmick rounds where normally it brings out the weirdest stuff we pick because it's not stuff that we all come up with a topic where like it's previously been albums that have anything to do with blue or like things that bring up memories or dead singers just abruptly. And we have to pick
singers.
We have to pick
Technically dead.
we have to pick things that are in that.
You have a criteria for your pick. It's not just pick whatever you want. You gotta follow like the guidelines.
It normally makes it interesting where I pick things that I would have not, or like weren't on my mind before, than were.
It makes you think more about your choice. Yeah. It does for me anyway, because it's like, okay, does this follow like it's like.
I've yet to.
What are they gonna pick?
So we all pick one. We vote for it. If this gets bigger, I might have audience vote start counting into that, but that's future down the line thing.
I wouldn't count on it, right?
I would think our families would vote on a Facebook poll, but but with that, we all voted on a gimmick where like so Brandon's thing.
So we previously discussed the Apple Top 100, and that was my choice, was to everyone pick an album from that curated Top 100 list.
Mine, since this was the first time we were doing a gimmick while we were recording, was going to be the first album that got us into like albums as a whole, because like this is what we're doing here. But then Timmy came up with one that just made sense, and I kind of knew it was going to win immediately, where it was a Pride themed one because it's June. We're recording this in June. It'll come out, and the next episode will all be in June, which I don't know if it will line up like that again. And as soon as he said it, I was like, that's it. And I made this rainbow behind us today. Before we even voted on it, because I was like, I know that's going to be it. It just makes sense. Like that, it should be. So with that, we had to pick band, album, artist, song, something that had to do with pride in any way, shape, or form. Because June. So, since it was your topic, if you want to pick.
Okay. My pick, we actually kind of talked about earlier. It's Billie Eilish's new song or album, "Hit Me Hard and Soft."
I had a hunch you were gonna pick.
I kind of did too.
Because since you picked her debut before, yeah. I knew you liked her.
I'll say I have actually listened to that too.
She essentially just came out with her song "Lunch." Which, if that's about why.
Basically came out as well, within the last couple of months too.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything from the new album. I've heard it's pretty good, but I haven't listened to it. But I will.
You now have to.
I will be forced to.
Brandon, go right ahead.
Okay. So my pick is actually it's a group of people. One of them happens to be gay. It is, and it's actually. I kind of felt weird picking this album because, like your Arron West, it's a trilogy of sorts, and I'm starting at the end.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't really tell a story.
Yeah.
Like it's just a lot of fun songs. Like you don't. So I'll just say what it is, and then I'll get into it. It is Saturation 3. That's the album name by Brockhampton.
All right.
And
I've heard of them.
yes, they are a boy band. They describe themselves as a boy band, but like it's like rap, hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
But that's the first album I heard from them. So I also started at the end, like how you were talking about Arron West.
Is it the end, or is that
But
just
you do
where
not-
they're at?
Well, the band they are no longer a band.
Okay.
They broke up. There's a lot of drama with this band.
Okay.
But this is when they were riding the high, like, so they released the Saturation trilogy all in the same year, 2017, and this is the last one of those. But I like this album a lot. So curious to see what you guys think.
So with this theme, I didn't realize that I listened to more gay and other artists than I knew I did. So I was doing slight research, like trying to find lists and stuff of like artists that are. And I was like, hey, this one is. So I try to actually put them up there.
Did you just search like gay artists?
No, I guess give or take, but not so abruptly or like in an almost negative connotation, I guess. But I'm going with Control My Sanity by Like Pacific, where I didn't know that their lead singer was gay. And if I did this much more research, I would have been more than aware. Or like, I follow the band on Twitter, but I don't follow the lead singer, and the lead singer's name on Twitter is Hot Gay Daddy. I was like, I would have known.
Yeah,
I was actually going to go
She doesn't
with
listen
that
to a lot
one.
of music.
evidently not.
I was actually going to spoil it a bit, not to make another episode where I peel vinyl off the wall. I was going to make it different. Where Like Pacific's up there, but not the album I'm picking. Where this is the album I'm picking, but the album is made to where it comes out the top. Doesn't really work on the wall. Because the album is that.
Oh, I see.
It comes out the top, and I was like, I can't hang that in any way, shape, or form without putting it like that. Which doesn't work in my OCD world. So yeah, next time will be first gimmick round. And thank you for listening to this episode of our thing we do.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks.
So have a nice 3 weeks, and we'll be back.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Video's still going. If you guys do anything weird, I can leave it in.
Oh, fuck. I gotta go piss.